All right. Man, been some really awesome things happening recently. I uh, I just met with my first, I guess, like major bookkeeping client a couple days ago, and I got him signed on, and I feel awesome about that. It's a restaurant, a really nice restaurant too, and it's gonna be the first time I've handled a restaurant before. I know a little bit of the ins and outs because I've researched, and I used to work at a restaurant for a few years, and I do stuff like inventory and all that, so I know kind of how the finances move in and out of a restaurant, but it's pretty awesome. It's like, it feels like a real like a real turning point in my journey of starting a business, because it's the first guy who I've had no prior knowledge of. I had a guy referred me to him, but I still had to, I guess, like cold call him pretty much, and book a meeting with him, and then do the whole sales onboarding meeting in person. And it's the first time I've gone through that process from start to finish with somebody completely fresh, and also an established business like that. So it really kind of made it real, and made me realize, like, I'm really doing this, like, this is actually happening. And I knew I could. I always knew I could, but at the same time, until you've really done something, you still have that doubt in the back of your mind. But yeah, I feel really happy about that, really grateful. And the day after, or actually maybe the day of, I actually went and saw one of my friends I haven't seen for a long time now. And he's a friend I've had since high school. It was really awesome getting to catch up with him. But it's just so many things have been happening in my life recently. And some of it's genuinely surprising. Like, just the momentum and I feel right now like I'm kind of just like, like grabbing on and holding for dear life, because so many doors are opening up so fast, and opportunities are presenting themselves so quickly, that it's like, I feel like I'm kind of in a haze right now. Like, it's I don't know. I'm just not used to this. I'm really grateful, but I'm just not used to this. And in my sales job, I have a couple of really big deals that could go through in the next month. And I'll put it like this: it could really change the trajectory of my life over the next couple of years, if it goes through, if both of them go through. So that's pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. And my friend I went and saw the other day, he knows my ex, because his girlfriend is actually cousins with her. And so kind of like being able to revisit that part of my life, because other people other friends that I have, it's like I've seen them quite a bit recently over the last couple months. So it's like, feels like, they kind of followed me on this journey recently, but since I haven't really seen or talked to him since I had this breakup, it's kind of like visiting a point in my life, a couple months ago. And it was really cool to kind of get a peek back into how my life was just a few months ago. Like, I'm losing track of time now, but gosh, I think it was like about 3 or 3.5 months ago now. And things feel completely different now. Like, my life is completely shifted in so many ways. And I feel different. My life feels different. It's just crazy. It's crazy to see the amount of change and progress that can happen if you just, if you hold on and don't let yourself be stopped by something like that. And I can't take credit for everything, because how much can you really take credit for, right? Like, you didn't choose to be born. You didn't choose a lot of your life circumstances. So there's so many, regardless of whatever you do in your life, you are still, you still owe a debt to just luck, right? But at the same time, you will never be able to fully take advantage of opportunities if you don't position yourself right. And for instance, all these opportunities, I can't help that, or it's not, there's nothing I can take credit for that, all these people that I've met in the last few months and all these connections that I've made, business and personal and otherwise, a lot of that is luck. A lot of that is just good timing and being very fortunate. But at the same time, if I just kind of sat on my ass and gave in to how I was feeling after just kind of having my life get flipped upside down, and if I just settled, I would never have been in these positions in the first place. And really all I did was not give up. Sorry. I didn't stop going. I didn't stop. I took a momentary pause, and I had to, the first week. No, even in the first week, I was still getting back to work. I was applying at jobs like crazy, while I was still finishing up my job because I put in my 2 weeks. But I allowed myself, when I had the time, to experience the emotions of everything and let myself kind of process that. But there wasn't a moment when I checked out or when I gave up. There wasn't a single moment when I gave in to that. I felt like it. I felt like I wanted to. And I was definitely struggling a lot. but I never gave in to defeat. And I kept going. And refusing to let this kind of destroy my life, and making sure that this was going to be something that propelled me forward rather than holding me down, is exactly what got me into these positions that I'm in today, just 3 months later. And I worked so hard. I worked so hard in the last few months. But I think the biggest thing I can take credit for is that I didn't give up. And that I didn't give in to despair. And on top of that, I took so many risks. And I mean, that's one of the great things about having something like that happen to you, is once you lose, you know, the things that are at the time the most important to you, you really feel like you have nothing to lose. And that's not a position you get to find yourself in throughout your whole life. And so you really need to take advantage of that when it happens, I believe. Anytime you experience immense loss, I mean, you need to grieve and you need to let yourself process that. But also, you have a temporary period of your life now where you are so much more resilient because you're less complacent and you feel like you have less to lose. And that's a really, really powerful state to be in. But, yeah. I'm so grateful for where I am right now. I'm so grateful for all of my friends and all of the people that I've met, for my family that I have left, for my parents. I've spent a lot of time with my parents over the last few months, and you know, my relationship with them has gotten better. I'm about to go on a trip with my brother, and you know, now that I am single and I don't have anybody to rely on, it's kind of the first time I've been in this position where I'm gonna go take a trip and I don't really have any I don't really have any boundaries. I don't have anything I have to be back for. I don't have anybody who's relying on me. I work entirely based on commission, so I don't technically have to be at my job. So, you know, we'll see where this goes, but I'm really excited, and I'm right now considering just going and seeing where I can go. We're planning on taking a train, which I've never done before, but there's some places I want to go to that my brother won't be able to go to because he's going to stay on the train, and so I might kind of go off on my own. And I've never been on a road trip across states by myself before, and so that'll definitely be a first. I mean, that's something I don't know if I would have done that last year. I feel so much now that I've been so fortunate to have experienced these events in my life, and I took chances and I didn't stop going, and I took risks and I've benefited from those risks. Now risk doesn't seem so scary anymore. And I mean, I know risk is risk, right? You can have consequences from that. And I've had consequences even recently from some of the risks that I've taken. But some of the best things in your life will come from you doing something that you're scared to do or something that you're uncomfortable with doing. And I've never experienced that more than in these last few months. And so now I'm much more motivated by doing things that would make me uncomfortable and doing things I would normally be scared of, because I've seen how much I've been able to grow in the last few months because of that. So I'm really excited about my business. Hopefully I'm planning on getting this to the point where I can just I'm planning on getting a van, because right now I'm pretty much living in my car, and so I'm planning on getting a van and building it out, and I'll document that whole process. So if you're one of the like 15 people who watch my videos right now, first of all, God bless. Thank you for following me on this journey. And you're gonna see a lot of really cool things here in the future, so if you stick around, you'll get to see all that. But I'm planning on getting a van, building that out, and I'm gonna go live in that and travel. And that's been a big motivation for me, starting this business. Obviously I want to have it for the rest of my life and have the financial security and independence that brings. But also, I am fortunate enough that the industry that I'm in is remote. I can work from anywhere. So it's everything lines up so well for me to finally live this lifestyle that I've wanted to live for years, where I can travel and sustain myself at the same time. So, and I'm not that far away from getting to that point right now, where I can sustain myself completely remotely. And it's way, way, way closer than I thought it would be. I'm way closer to that than I thought I could be at this point. And I'm so happy to even be able to dream about that, and much less actually be getting there, and so soon. So yeah, I feel like I'm just repeating myself, but I'm so proud of myself for not giving up and for putting myself in uncomfortable situations, for continuing to work, even though I feel like shit, even though I've experienced loss, even though I've experienced grief, deep grief. I'm very proud of what I've done in the last few months, and I'm very grateful to the people around me and how much they've helped me out, because like I said, I cannot even begin to take credit for everything. I only take credit for my actions. Everything else has come from a mixture of luck and other people helping me out. And so I'm so grateful to my friends and the family that I have. I'm so excited to see what lies in the future. I'm doing MMA now, and so getting to explore striking, adding it to my jiu-jitsu and wrestling, something I've wanted to do for years. Finally getting to fulfill that desire, which is awesome. And I've wanted to do that since I was 19. I've had that on my mind for years, and I've studied, I've watched so much film, so many fights. I was obsessed with it for a few years before I started having to work so much. But I'm finally able to start doing that. Um, I'm playing piano a lot more. I'm starting to dabble in jazz piano a little bit, which I've been wanting to do for years. And these are all things that I could have done. I could have done some of this for the last few years. But there's so many things that go into it, but truthfully, being in the relationship I was in, it was so hard to see it at the time, but it was taking so much from me and draining so much out of me, just physically, with how much I was having to work, and mentally and emotionally with just the issues that were going on behind the scenes that really nobody else saw. And I was I was thinking a couple months ago when all this happened, and at the time I was thinking it, I was 2 months ago, so I'd barely started to kind of get into the things I'm in now. But even then, I was connecting with friends I hadn't talked to in a long time, getting closer with my family, and I was starting to see some opportunities show up here and there. But I was thinking, like, if I could see where I am right now, 6 months ago, when I was thinking I was going to get married to this person, and planning on getting a house with her and having kids, and like all of that was going through my mind as like kind of this is how my future is going to be. If I could see where I am today then, and someone were to give me the option, would you sacrifice what you have to be in these positions now that you're in, with your business, with your friends, with finding this new gym, this new jiu-jitsu gym, with having all these opportunities to travel and have financial freedom and not have to work in a warehouse, for 60 hours a week, doing stuff you hate doing. But would you trade that if you had the option and lose this relationship? And my answer was no. No, I don't think I would have. I wouldn't have at the time. And honestly, even now, if you were to put me back in that relationship, in the same headspace, I don't know that I would, because I felt, I loved her a lot. And I was willing to make those sacrifices. And even though it was very much a one-sided relationship, I was giving so much to it, and I don't like to look at it transactionally, but now that everything's over, I can kind of look at it like that. And I was giving so much of myself, and what I was getting out of it was just pain and stress. And I couldn't come home after working and relax and feel comfortable, because there's always something. There's always some other issue that I'm walking into. And that destroyed my life for the last couple of years. I barely got sleep. I couldn't heal from my injuries. I developed some really bad stomach issues from the amount of stress I was under. I'm still dealing with today. Really, really bad issues. Just from overworking myself, having the mental stress. Like, I mean, I think I almost died, to be honest. Things got really bad, and I'm still kind of dealing with the fallout of that. But I mean, I was killing myself, literally. I was killing myself. And if I'm looking back on it, I really didn't have the support from the relationship. It was just always like, no matter what I was going through, there was like no consideration for that. I mean, there was some times, but there wasn't like, I never really felt like my needs were really being considered. And it was never a priority. And having given so much of myself to that, you know, it was just soul crushing. And I gradually got into that position. And so because I still loved her so much, and was so motivated by having a family and a future with her, I was like, well, this is just the price I have to pay for getting to experience this, for getting to have this amazing future with this person who I love. And unfortunately, looking back on it now, I can see how detrimental that would have been. Because if you're in a relationship, and if you're in one right now and you're seeing this, it doesn't have to be like that. It really doesn't have to be like that. And I haven't personally experienced, I personally haven't experienced a relationship that's not like that. Pretty much all my relationships have been pretty much the same in that regard. And that's a problem with myself and the people I allow into my life. But just from seeing other people and from talking to other people who are older, wiser, more experienced than I am, I'm realizing like a relationship doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to give everything of yourself and give all the sacrifice yourself just to build up this future with the other person. It should go both ways. And you shouldn't be in a relationship analyzing, oh, am I putting more into this than the other person? It feels like I'm doing so much and they're just not really considering me and all of that. Like, that shouldn't be in the back of your mind constantly. And it's probably not a good sign if that's what's going on. But, you know, looking back now, I'm so glad that ended. Because I can see, I can feel how much I'm healing physically and emotionally and everything else. And, you know, especially physically, like I said, my body was just getting destroyed. And I'm also realizing, like, you don't have to do that to make money. It's much better, you know, do what you have to do in the moment to get yourself out of a situation. But you really, if you're working a job and you're destroying your body doing it, you don't have to do that. And it's going to be tough because you need to teach yourself some kind of skill while you're working that job if you don't have the means to just quit the job outright. And that's what I had to do. I had to teach myself how to do bookkeeping and accounting while I was working 12-hour shifts, 60 hours a week. And I'd have 2 15-minute breaks and 1 30-minute break in the day in a 12-hour shift. And I would have to spend the entire time teaching myself accounting, which, if you've ever done accounting, can be pretty complicated. It's quite a bit to learn. But I did that. I did that for 2 years. I didn't take breaks that I could, sit back and enjoy and watch YouTube videos like everybody else. While they were watching like YouTube and Instagram Reels and whatever they were doing, I was working on the business constantly and working on learning how to do this. And I didn't have any breaks. I didn't feel like I could rest mentally at all. There's always something. But I'm so glad that I did that, because now I'm in the position I'm in now, where this is actually becoming a reality. And this is actually something that I can do and make way more money than what I was making without having to destroy my body. And now I can finally do physical things that I couldn't do before. Like, I can start training jiu-jitsu and wrestling again. And I couldn't do that because I was working 60 hours a week and destroying my body. And like I said, it doesn't have to be like that. Your relationship doesn't have to feel like, on the drive home, you don't have to be dreading going through the door of your house or your apartment, wondering, well, what's it going to be this time? What is she going to be mad about when I walk through the door when we haven't talked to each other all day? What am I going to be walking into today? You don't have to be at your job being like, well, the only way I can afford to save up some money this week is to work an extra 10, 20 hours of overtime. It doesn't have to be like that. And I'm saying that because I did that. I literally did that. And while I was doing that, I chose to work even more when I could have been off, or I could have been relaxing or doing something else more enjoyable at the time, so that I wouldn't have to keep doing that. You have to get out of those situations. It's not supposed to be a permanent thing. And if it is, you're not going to enjoy your life very much. You don't want to be having to work 60 hours a week just to make half again as much, for those extra hours you're working. That's not enough. That's not worth it. People get so caught up on like, oh, I can get this many hours of overtime. Dude, fuck overtime. Honestly. It's nice, as a short-term thing, great. And if you have kids, whatever, like, yeah, it can be good to get you out of a temporary hole, but like, when you're relying on consistent overtime on a weekly basis, you're throwing your life away. You're literally throwing your life in the trash. And you're going to look back at all those years spent making half again as much and getting a 3% raise per year. And you're going to regret that you did that for 20, 30 years. If you're in that situation right now, get out. You have to get out. You have to do something. If you're going to work an extra 10 to 20 hours a week to make 50% more on your overtime and then get taxed even more, just spend that extra 10 to 20 hours a week learning a skill. Learn how to run a business, learn something you can make a business out of, learn a trade, do something, educate yourself. Just learn something you can turn into a business that you wouldn't mind doing and putting a huge amount of hours and energy into. Because if you're gonna work 60 hours a week for somebody else, destroying your body and destroying your life, you might as well put that towards your own business. So don't get caught up in the trap of overtime, man. It's a huge trap. And you're going to regret it so much looking back on your life years down the road. You have to get out of those situations. It's not supposed to be like that, and that's not the only way. It's not the only way to do things. Yeah. I really don't have any other thoughts. I just got back from work. I just want to talk about this stuff because this is kind of there's some pretty big things that happened in the last few days I'm really excited about. And yeah, that's it.